Tonight, somewhere in the lower mainland, a nurse is finishing a shift she didn't sign up for. She didn't volunteer for it. There's no one else to cover it. Her union voted 98.2% in favor of job action, and it still wasn't enough to fix tonight's schedule. She stood on a picket line outside Surrey Memorial, one of the busiest emergency rooms in North America. And the picket line hasn't changed what she's walking into right now. Somewhere else in the same region, there's a bed, a detox bed, clean sheets, an empty room, a chart with no name on it yet. It isn't empty because nobody needs it. It's empty because there is no nurse certified to sit in that room and watch someone through the worst 48 hours of their life. So the bed sits there, and the wait list doesn't get shorter. And somewhere else, not far from the same region, same year, there's a stadium. Seats counted, a security perimeter is mapped block by block. A fan zone is designed down to the vendor stalls, all for 7 games. 7 games of soccer. I want you to hold all 3 of those pictures at once before I tell you what any of them cost. Because none of them are hypothetical. All 3 are happening right now, in the same corner of the country, in the same calendar year. And only one of them had no trouble finding a budget. What does it say about a city, about a country, when we can always find the money for the party, but we have to vote, strike, and picket for the money to take care of people who are drowning? That's the question this episode is built around. Not is soccer bad, not is celebrating wrong. The question is, what gets decided first? What gets treated as non-negotiable? And what gets left for whatever is left over? Let's start with the number, because vague outreach is easy to dismiss. Specific numbers are not. Hosting 7 games of the 2026 World Cup in Vancouver, 7 games out of a tournament spread across 3 countries, now carries a combined federal, provincial, and municipal price tag of somewhere between $685 million and $729 million. That's up from an estimate of $532 to $624 million just the year before. The number keeps climbing. The city of Vancouver's own share, between $320 and $338 million. The province, after every dollar of offsetting revenue it can find, still carries a net cost of up to $114 million. The federal government has committed up to $116 million for operations and infrastructure, and pledged another $100 million on top of that to help the province cover security. And zoom out of the national picture for a moment. Canada's own parliamentary budget officer, the government's independent fiscal watchdog, not a critic with an axe to grind, put the total taxpayer cost of hosting this tournament across every Canadian host city at somewhere around $1 billion. $1 billion for a tournament that will be over in a month. Now, I want to be honest with you, because I'd rather you trust every number in this episode than feel good about one I sanded down to make my point easier. Some of this is offset. There is a hotel tax, visitors pay it, not residents directly, that recovers part of the provincial cost. There will be tourism spending, temporary jobs, global visibility for the city. A flat, this money could have gone straight to nurses instead comparison isn't quite honest, because governments don't move money between buckets that cleanly. But that's not actually the point I'm making tonight. The point isn't that the money was stolen from one place and handed to another. The point is about order, about what gets approved without a fight and what gets left to beg for scraps. Nobody had to organize a strike vote to get the World Cup budget approved. Nobody had to picket outside City Hall to get the security perimeter funded. That money moved the moment it was asked for. Everything I'm about to tell you next did not move that easily. 4 things are true right now, in the same region, in the same months as the numbers I just gave you. 98.2% of BC nurses union members voted in favor of job action. Not a slim majority, nearly everyone. When the government came back with a tentative agreement, members rejected it too. 67% said no, this doesn't fix it. This is the first nursing strike in Canada in nearly 3 decades. Not a rate escalation, the first in a generation. Picket lines went up across the Lower Mainland. Sir Memorial Hospital, home to one of North America's busiest emergency departments. The Jim Pattison Outpatient Care and Surgery Center. Vancouver General Hospital. Nurses who took an oath to care for people, standing outside instead of inside, because inside had become unsafe and unsustainable for them to keep giving that care. And the detox beds. Across British Columbia, dozens of detox beds have historically sat empty. Not because no one needed them, because there weren't enough addictions physicians and nurses to staff them. In some of Vancouver region withdrawal management facilities, up to half the beds have gone unoccupied at times most needed, while the wait list to get one of the occupied beds stretched on and on. To be fair, and I want to be fair, because the full picture matters more than a clean argument, Fraser Health added 10 new detox beds at Creekside Withdrawal Management Center in Surrey this past March. Wait times there dropped from an average of 26 days down to about 8. That's real. That's progress, and it's worth saying out loud. But 10 beds is not the same order of magnitude as $700 million. And a 51 detox bed center planned as part of a larger housing project in Vancouver has been delayed for years. Now, the homelessness. Metro Vancouver's most recent point-in-time count found 5,232 people experiencing homelessness across the region, up 9% in just 2 years. The city of Vancouver alone counted 2,715, a record high, up 12%, even though Vancouver holds only about a quarter of the region's population. Since these counts began in 2005, homelessness in Metro Vancouver has grown by 141%, not 20%, not 40%, 141, growing far faster than the population around it. And here's the detail that connects us straight back to earlier episodes of this show. Indigenous people make up 34% of everyone counted as homeless in Metro Vancouver, while making up only 2.4% of the region's total population. I talked in episode 3 about pueblos originarios being erased, first by colonization, then by the flattening of Latinidad. I talked in episode 7 about whose God this really is, and who the missionaries claim to be bringing him to. This is the same erasure, still running, 500 years later, just showing up now on a shelter intake form instead of a colonial land grant. And the overdoses? More than 19,000 British Columbians have died from unregulated drug toxicity since this province declared a public health emergency in April of 2014. That emergency is now more than a decade old. This year alone, 150 deaths in January, roughly 119 in April, 109 in May. Depending on the month, that's somewhere between 3.5 and nearly 5 people dying every single day across this province from poison drug supply. Fentanyl and its analogs show up in the overwhelming majority of the deaths that get tested. This isn't a mystery crisis. We know almost exactly what's killing people. We've known for years. There's a phrase for this. It's almost 2,000 years old. The Roman satirist Juvenal watched his own empire feed its people two things: free grain and gladiator games, and called it panem et circenses, bread and circuses. He wasn't writing a review of the entertainment. He was writing an obituary for a citizenry that had been fed just well enough and distracted just thoroughly enough that it stopped asking who was actually running things and how and at whose expense. A society will always find money for what it has already decided it matters. And that's not cynicism. That's just how budgets work. Nobody has to be talked into funding the thing they already believe is essential. The fight only happens over the things a society has quietly decided are optional. Scripture has its own version of this critique, and it's not gentle. I despise your feast, and I take no delight in your solemn assemblies. Let justice roll down like waters, and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. Amos 5:21 and 24. Amos wasn't condemning worship. He was condemning worship performed perfectly while injustice run on a dress directly underneath it. Every festival kept, every offering given, and the poor is still crushed at the gate. Isaiah 58 makes the same case from a different angle. The fast God actually wants isn't the one performed for an audience. It's the one that looses the bonds of wickedness, that feeds the hungry, that brings the homeless poor into your house. And this connects directly to something I gave you back in episode 4. Gustavo Gutierrez called the preferential option for the poor. Not a slogan, a method, a question you're supposed to ask for every decision, every budget line, every priority. Does this serve the poor first, or does it serve them last, if it serves them at all? Apply that question to a $700 million sports tournament sitting next to a nursing strike, an understaffed detox system, a record homeless count, and 4 overdose deaths a day, and you already know the answer before I say it out loud. It's not that the celebration is sinful. Joy is not the enemy here. The problem is what a budget actually confesses. A budget is not a neutral document. It is the truest statement a government or a church or a person ever makes about what it actually believes matters, regardless of what gets said out loud on Sunday. And here's where I have to be careful, because I don't want to overstate this. Some church voices have spoken up around this World Cup. Denominational outlets and aid organizations have raised real concerns about trafficking, exploitation, and the risk a mega event brings to vulnerable people, women, children, and migrants. When a city floods with visitors for a month, that's a legitimate moral concern. And it's good that someone is naming it. But notice what's missing from that conversation. Almost none of that same moral energy has turned toward the question underneath it. Whether $700 million should have moved this easily, this fast, while the same region's nurses were on picket lines, its detox beds sat unstaffed, its homeless count hit a record high, and its overdose dead kept mounting at 4 a day. The church, it turns out, has a vocabulary for protect people during the spectacle. It does not yet have one for question whether we should be having the spectacle first at this price, while our own people go without. That's not nothing. Nothing is happening. But it is a much narrower silence than a headline could sell you. And naming it precisely is what makes the critique worth taking seriously instead of dismissing as just another complaint. This all isn't abstract to me. I work directly with an outreach team across the Lower Mainland. The same population living at the exact intersection of homelessness, addiction, and a health system stretched past what it can hold. I don't need a government report to tell me a bed is short or a wait is long. I see the gap between what's funded and what's needed every week I go to work. I see it in faces, not statistics. So when I read that a stadium security perimeter got mapped out and funded without a fight, while the people I sit across from every week are still waiting for a bed, a nurse, a caseworker who has time, I don't experience that as an abstract policy critique. I experience it as a verdict on what actually got decided to matter first. Now let me answer the question I opened with. What does it say about a city, about a country, when we can always find the money for the party? It says, the budget already told the truth before anyone had to admit it out loud. It says joy, for some, was never actually in competition with justice for others. Because if it had been treated as a real competition, justice would have had a fighting chance instead of a picket line. They'll tell you there wasn't enough money. There was always enough money. There just wasn't enough will. And the church, my church, the one I still believe in enough to keep asking it hard questions, has plenty of language left over for doctrine, for scandal on the other side of the world, for the sins of 500 years ago. It has a much quieter voice for the budget line 4 blocks from where we worship right now, this year. Siempre hay dinero cuando ya decidimos que algo importa. Los pobres no piden un estadio, piden una cama. Piden una enfermera que tenga tiempo. Piden que alguien decida de una vez que ellos también importan primero, no al final, no si sobra algo. Esa es la fe que decimos profesar. La pregunta es si es la que realmente practicamos. What does it mean to follow Jesus right now? When the collection plate for the wounds in our own city goes quiet, but the stadium always sells out. What does it mean to be Latin American today, when our diaspora church has a voice for scandal an ocean away, and none at all for the 4 blocks between the sanctuary and the encampment? It means the budget doesn't get the last word. We do. Hasta la próxima.